Welcome to another episode of Inside the Creative Mind of Amazing Amanda Mulder with me, the amazing Amanda Mulder. It's May, and as a student recently told me, you look like you've seen better days. And I certainly have, and will soon, considering that summer is 8 days away. But the grind keeps on grinding, as another student told me, and it is Teacher Appreciation Month. Do I feel appreciated? No. But did I get my free Arby's sandwiches from every Arby's in Erie? Yes. And for that, I truly celebrate getting through this month. So like Dory the fish, just gonna keep swimming to the end and make it through the end. It's not easy, but I'm doing it. May is also Mental Health Awareness Month, and without going into specifics, it's a real struggle out there. I've seen a lot. I've seen people I care about struggle a lot. Humans can just be so cruel. People lie, they suck at communication, they hurt each other. And I absorb a lot of it. I've absorbed a lot of things. But the biggest battles I face are in my mind with myself. So for this month, I just wanted to say, remember that we're all people. You do not know someone's mind. You don't know what they've lived through, what they've struggled with. We all are what we carry or what we've been through. Even comedians are people. I know. If you've met someone, you've only met their comedy persona. The person they are on stage, the person they are with their fans. You don't know the whole story about their life. I feel like I'm getting tougher skin, and I've learned a lot of strategies to move on. But with Mental Health Awareness Month, it's also a month to celebrate how far, everyone out there, how far we've come in our mental health journey. I mean, if you're watching this, you're still here. I may not be someday, but you're here. And so, yay, you've survived, and I'm surviving so far. So let's just keep surviving, doing what we can, take care of ourselves. It's important. It's important, not only mental health, but all year. So for updates, I always think, what am I going to talk about? What did I do? But then I start writing and I'm like, oh my goodness, this was another busy month. But it's good. It's good to stay busy. It's good to keep learning, doing things in the comedy world. At the end of April, I went to see something I called Steve Martin Fest. And it was Steve Martin and Martin Short performing their show in Cleveland. And I was very excited about that. Anyone who's seen some of my videos or has talked to me, I am a fan of Steve Martin. I could probably do a video about it, but I've listened to his comedy masterclass. I've listened to his book, Born Standing Up, a couple times. He just inspires me with the way he does comedy. When I was first getting into comedy, you think about, like, where do I start? Where do I begin? And you think about, like, you look for books, you look for things out there, and I found Steve Martin's masterclass on the Masterclass app. And if you watch his masterclass and the way he talks with you, he doesn't know me, obviously, But with the way he is able to connect, teach, talk about his mind and how he thinks through comedy. I mean, he says things in his class like, there's a place for you, bring to it what no one else can bring. I mean, it's a very basic spot to just jump off and begin, and that's really the point of it. It's not going to be a class that is for someone who isn't an expert or anything. Once you hone those skills, you kind of have to, I mean, you can go back and listen to it again, but you have to move on to being active and doing other things. But yeah, it's just, if you have a chance, go listen to his masterclass. I subscribe to masterclass. There's all kinds of there's another comedy masterclass I haven't listened to yet, but just the way Steve Martin talks about comedy, he breaks apart things he's written, talks about his comedy. It just was very inspiring to me, the way he taught. And I feel like when I watch things like Only Murders in the Building or some of his other movies, I understand his comedy better. But then that led me to listening to Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up. And I've listened to it twice. I'm sure I'll listen to it some more times. But in that book, Steve Martin talks about more of his timeline of how he got into comedy, figured things out, the things that inspired his style, just his life in general, how it impacted him, what he had to do, what he had to sacrifice, and then why he walked away and started doing other projects. So yeah, it's a really inspirational book. And in his book, he talks about that he was in college and he was thinking of becoming a teacher. And I was thinking, wow, that's pretty amazing, because your masterclass shows you had some amazing teaching skills to record videos like that and connect with people you don't even know through videos. I mean, I teach online, so that's really the ultimate goal, is I look up to that teaching style. Like, how can you engage people that you're not actually in the room with? So, library is closing. The weather here is horrible. There was like winds that are like 40 degrees, so I wasn't sure if maybe the library was falling apart. But yeah, back to Steve Martin. After seeing his masterclass, reading his book, diving some more. I mean, I've watched Only Murders in the Building. I started watching some of his movies, and I just, the masterclass has clips. So he'll talk about something and then they'll show the clip where he actually did it, when he was a comedian or in a movie or in a play, or, it's pretty cool. The only thing that the masterclass doesn't have is he talks about his play Meteor Shower, which I've never seen. I wish I could see it. I keep looking online to see if there's a place I could go to see this absurdist comedy. And there's nowhere around me that has it right now. But if I should I need to go find a script and like read through it. But he breaks apart Meteor Shower and how he wrote that, and with comedy too. So it's not just a class on stand-up. He does talk a lot about that. It's a class on his like comedy style and stuff too. Anyway, that's a long story about why I really like Steve Martin a lot. And, he gave me inspiration when I was getting into it. And I just like the way he teaches. And I just think that's just amazing what he's put out there for people wanting to learn about comedy. So anyway, that was one reason why I was so excited to see him in person. He's 80 years old, and he's still out there doing comedy and doing shows and traveling around. I just think that's incredible. Those are life goals. So, anyway, I went to Cleveland and with a friend and saw him perform, and we had a really just fun day in Cleveland. We had brunch at the Haunted House restaurant, where I had my 14 karat gold wings on a waffle. Waffle is my favorite breakfast food. And at Gold Wings, those were pretty incredible. The restaurant looks like a haunted house. It has haunted house decor inside, and there's like scare actors, Michael Myers and Leatherface, jumping to your service, literally jumping out to like jump scares and stuff. It's really cool for those of us that love Halloween and so forth. And then we went to the Cleveland Aquarium, which I love because you can walk through tunnels and you can see all the fish and sharks. And I fed a stingray. It's just a very interactive, fun place. We walked in a couple gardens, the Italian gardens, and we went to the Lakeview Cemetery, saw the Weeping Angel sculpture. Had dinner with some friends, and then we saw Steve Martin and Martin Short and their comedy show. And I will say that the show was very enjoyable. I mean, how could it not be? With the two legends of comedy. I'm more of a Steve Martin person, but I do like Martin Short on Only Murders in the Building. They do complement each other. But I'm more I'm on team Steve Martin. But it had variety show vibes, vaudeville vibes. If you broke down vaudeville, the show had larger than life physical comedy, exaggeration. It had some audience participation. They pulled some people in the audience on stage. Unfortunately, not me. I can't afford those tickets. But they have pulled some people on stage to act some stuff out. They had Steve Martin played his banjo and sang a funny song. They had personal touch. They had stories about their life, pictures. They roasted each other. So it was just like a really good interactive comedy show. And it was just so nice. Our heartbeats were in the 216 together, and it had all those really magical vibes for me and good comedic energy in one place. The only, me, I am me. And the only thing that I will say is, after seeing this show, it did have some old humor. I mean, these are older men. And I will say that most of the old humor, I feel like, came from Martin Short's jokes. So I don't know if they wrote the show or if they had show writers or, like hacks, with Deborah and Ava, and I don't really know Steve Martin and Martin Short, how they write their material. I'd love to learn more about that part. But Martin Short had a couple jokes that I was just like, oh, come on. You can do better than that, Martin Short. He said something like Steve Martin was looking very Ozempic, and I'm just like, so Steve Martin is, I think, gorgeous inside and out as for an older guy. So but that aside, could we quit, obviously you probably consents to that joke, but it's just like, if people are taking Ozempic and they want to talk about their personal experience, okay. But, just to kind of call out people looking a certain way because they take Ozempic, I just feel like that was bad comedy writing, Martin Short. And being on Jenny Craig more times than her husband, oh my God, come on. That was also a Martin Short line. But yeah, it's older humor. I mean, that was the kind of humor that used to exist more when they started comedy. So maybe they're calling back to that. I don't know. But I thought that writing was just a little bit, if I, had to give them notes. They are the masters, but they could write better jokes than that. I know. Only Murders in the Building doesn't have humor like that. So yeah, I feel like it could have had some better jokes, but overall it was a very, very good show and I enjoyed it a lot. And I'm glad I went. Shout out to Chris from New York that joined me and supports me on a lot of comedy adventures. So really appreciate that. It wouldn't have been as much fun. I mean, I would have done it myself, but it wouldn't have been as much fun without him. So I always like it when my friends are super supportive and joining me for things. Okay, so moving on. The next thing I did was I saw a show locally at the local comedy club, which I'm very thankful for. And it was an older comedian, gentleman. And I just enjoy going back to this club because it has really good vibes and the people there are really nice. And I got to know everyone from doing the comedy contest and just coming back. People are really friendly and nice, and it's just a good place to watch comedy. The comedian, and I just felt like I wanted to go back. It just had been a while. I wanted all those vibes again, the local comedy vibes. So I went in, and the opener, he won the comedy contest that I was in. It was good to see him again. He does a lot of humor about having like a walker and having his mobility issues. So he's really good. And the comedian he opened for was interesting. The thing that interested me the most about this comedian was he had this long movement-based entrance where he was in the audience and he had on like a leather jacket, leather pants, and he just kind of like swerved through the audience and took his time getting on stage. He had kind of like a strut, like a confidence strut. And he was just like, he had a cigarette and he had some gyrating. But he was, he in that way interacted with a lot of the audience. I did see him even before he performed, kind of roaming around the audience and it, like just getting all the vibes. But then when he did this kind of convoluted entrance with some music, it was like nonverbal comedy before he did his set. And I really liked seeing that. I really liked seeing something different. I liked seeing the physical movement. I thought it was a good throwback to when you see comedians just try to communicate with their physicality. And he started his set and he did, verbal stand-up humor. My friend, on the other hand, didn't really like that. So I guess that's, some people like that stuff, some people don't, but I just thought it was really neat. Like, can we think more about, as comedians, ways that we portray our persona in a nonverbal way? Or do we rely more on our words? I'm thinking about my persona, like as a teacher, how I have my props and I have my suitcase thing and ways maybe I could walk differently with that. I always feel like as a teacher, I'm carrying 200 bags in. So that's like a big part of when I do things that are like not an open mic is to have my props or have my suitcase bag thing. So it just gave me some things to think about. I really appreciated that. It was neat to see something different than just someone just walking on the stage. I really liked it. I started a comedy class again. I told you on a previous videos last year, I was doing the Hill People comedy class. I signed up for that again because it is an incredible class that I love so much, and I learned so much from it. Mia Jackson is teaching the class again, and we've already had one class where we have a really cool workbook, and we get to meet one-on-one with Mia and talk through things, and I got to meet with her Thursday, and we had great conversations and some direction. And for me, I can write things on my own, but to be with people, like actually talking and learning, I feel like for me is the best. And I'm just so excited when the very rare, unfortunately rare opportunities where I get to do that. So it's going to be really, really, really great. And last but not least, I did watch, Funny AF with Kevin Hart, which Mia, my comedy instructor, is on that series, which is awesome. And it was a comedy contest on Netflix. And it was interesting. Taught me some things. I felt some similarities between that contest and then what I went through locally. So it brought up some ideas, some feelings, and it just was interesting to see a bunch of different styles and what's out there. So something I thought was really interesting, I want to dive into it, even thinking about it for future episodes, but they in the series talk about the recipe for a good comedian. So pretty much what they're looking for, what they're trying to find. And the recipe that they talk about, that Kevin Hart and his the other people on the show talk about, it's just really interesting to see them, how they break it down. They talk about how a comedian needs to have a point of view, a perspective about things, that it's like their perspective, like they own it. That a comedian, that's the first thing. A comedian needs to be relatable. Everyone relates to what they say somehow. So that's something that, you have to figure out how to connect with different audiences and be relatable. And that's honestly, I think, one of the biggest challenges around here, because most of the humor around here is pretty blue. It's pretty generic, old, So thinking about relatability, it's interesting. Like, yeah, I appreciated that. Divert from the polite. So just saying what's on your mind and just saying things the way you want to say it. And I think that's really good. I had a interesting conversation with Mia where we talked about like some things like people have told me about like teachers and how to make that funny in like a comedy routine, like how you can use comedy to, send a message or kind of jab back, take your power back. So that's interesting. Find material everywhere. This is something I definitely do. I have some notebooks for me instead of sifting through my phone. Sometimes I'll record myself saying something. I'll write it down in a notebook. But yeah, you can find humor anywhere you go. And when you find it, write it down, do something with it, because you may not remember it. Even if you think you're going to remember that note, it's going to leave you. So do something with it. Great technical structure, thinking about your setups, punchlines, tags. Steve Martin, he says you can do comedy without all that. And some people play with that. But you have to have a good technical structure, know what you're doing, practice, all that kind of stuff. Find humor in insecurities, like those moments in your life that you're like, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe this happened. Talk about it with your humor. And, the more open you are, the more vulnerable you are, it could really connect with people. The X factor. Does that person have the personality, the X factor that you want to listen to them? Like how I feel about Steve Martin, do you want to hear them on stage? Do you connect with them? Do you relate to them? Do they have that star quality of that confidence? And they said in Funny AF that it's hard to know really what X factor is. It's just someone has it or develops it. Know who you are as a comedian. Know your life experiences, who you are, what you want to talk about, and be who you are. The world wants to try to change you often. They're like, do this, do that, be someone different. But you have to kind of stick true to yourself and be, like they said in Funny AF, be who you are. And the other one is be ready for moments that you don't even know are coming, that you gotta be ready all the time as a comedian. You have to put yourself out there. Be ready to me means like go out and do the thing even when you don't feel like doing it. Go to the open mic every week. You never know when you're going to meet someone that changes your life. Travel to the show, travel to the show far away. Network with these people. You never know when you'll go somewhere and it will change your life. So you won't even see it coming. It'll change your life when you least expect it, and you can be ready. And that's what I also take away from Steve Martin's book, is he traveled, he did a lot of things. His quote, which I've referenced before in my videos about doing stand-up, he did it 10 years and 4 years with success, and then he quit. He did a lot of things before he was discovered and found, and it's really the grind. As one of my friends said, it's the long game, and if you're not in it for the long game, you're not going to go anywhere. So it's really patience and constantly practicing, getting yourself out there, doing it, is what's going to make a difference. So yeah. So anyway, those are my thoughts. It really did give me something to think about. I want to maybe, think more about that in the future and try to break those apart generally as I go along. But it was, I've been learning. I've still been doing things, still getting through it. So yeah, if you're out there, feel free to give me your thoughts. And coming up, it's gonna be really focused on this class. Really want to focus on it and write a new set and practice and learn some more things. So I'm really going hard into this experience. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to end it there because I'm at 30 minutes again. But I hope you all are doing well, and I'll see you in June. So, bye.